Hi there, I have an interesting type of book today. It's what we call a historical fiction. That means it is a made up story, but it's based on real, true historical facts. This book is called Life in Colonial America, and it's talking about the time period in America in between when the Pilgrims came and America began as a country in 1776 after the American Revolution. So, this is a snippet of one part or one version of life in colonial America. Different cultures had different ways of living, and also there were the first peoples, Native Americans, who had different way of living as well. So this is one snapshot of what life in colonial America could have looked like for some of the settlers who came. This book is written by Maud Lebowski and illustrated by Stephen Snyder. Sarah lived in colonial times. That was before the United States became a country. And here we have a map of the 13 colonies in colonial America. This would be like New England area down to the Georgia in the south. Okay, Sarah lived in the colony of Pennsylvania. So right about here. Her day had just begun. In the morning, Sarah went to school. Her school only had one room. Her teachers taught young students and older students in the same room. So a lot of times in colonial America, there weren't enough schools, buildings, teachers, or students to have more than one class. So they all were in the same class, little kids up to bigger kids. They all learned together. It's called a one-room schoolhouse. Sarah wrote with a quill pen made from a feather. She learned lessons from a book. The alphabet was written in the book. It was called a horn book. So there we have Sarah learning using a quill dipped in ink to write. That's probably a little different than your pencils or pens that you use. On her way home from school, Sarah went to the market to buy cheese. People also sold food, shoes, and cloth there. Sarah wanted to stay at the market longer because she had fun there, but she had to hurry home. So the market is what we would call like a store today. It's a place you go to get things that you need. As she walked home, Sarah saw people everywhere. Most people in colonial America lived on farms, but Sarah lived in the city. It was a busy and crowded place. When Sarah got home, her family was waiting for her. Her parents, brothers, sisters, and grandparents all lived in the same house. So that might be kind of like your family, but it might be different. A lot of people live just with their siblings and parents, but some people live with their grandparents, aunts, or uncles. Sarah had to do chores to help her family. Sarah worked in the garden. The family grew food. They saved some food to eat during the winter. They ate all the food that they grew. So gardening was really important in colonial America because you couldn't always just go to the store to get food. You had to make sure you had enough by growing food for your family to eat. After working in the garden, Sarah had more chores to do. She helped her mother sew clothes. Sarah learned to make small, even stitches. Yeah, so again, you couldn't always just go buy a new outfit. You had to either make it or repair one yourself. Most girls learned how to sew clothes for the family. Girls also learned to use a spinning wheel to make cloth for clothes. So spinning wheel is something you could use, take something like wool, make it into yarn so that you could make clothes out of it. Sarah and her sisters helped their mother cook. They made eggs, chicken, fish, carrots, and pudding. They cooked a lot of good food. Then Sarah helped make candles. She tied a string to a stick. She put the string into wax and then took it out. She did this again and again. So you have to keep dipping them in the wax to make the candle bigger. Finally, Sarah's chores were done. She played with her brothers and sisters. Indoors, they played board games or card. Sometimes they put puzzles together. Outside, they rolled hoops. So hoops is a game where you kind of hit the hoop with a stick, so you keep it rolling and standing up straight. You don't want it to go flat. When it got dark outside, Sarah and her brothers and sisters went back into the house. Her family used the candles Sarah made to light their home. Sarah's family always needed candles. They couldn't just go to a light switch and turn on a light. They had to use candles so that they could see at night. Soon it was time for bed. Sarah shared a small room in the attic with her sisters. She sank into her soft feather bed. She pulled up the big, heavy quilt. Before long, she was sleeping. It had been a long day. That was a little snapshot of life in colonial America. I have two things I want you to think about. How is Sarah's life different than it is today? Can you think of something that was different than your life? I was thinking about what school was like. It'd be different to have bigger kids in your classroom. Usually we're all in the same, all the kids in your classroom are about the same age. Also, no electricity. That would be very different. No TV, no lights that you could just turn on. And you couldn't just go to the store for everything you wanted. You had to grow your own food. You had to make your own clothes. But there are some things that are similar. Can you think of something that when I was reading, you thought, that's kind of like my life? Yeah, she likes to play. She likes to play with her brothers and sisters. She likes, maybe you have a garden, or maybe you know, when I was reading this last page, I thought, oh, that's just like me growing up. I shared a room with my sisters. And we had big, comfy quilts that we would sleep in. That's just the same. So there are some things that are different and some things that are similar to other people's lives. I hope you learned a little bit about life back in colonial America. And I hope you're having a great day as well. Love ya. Bye.